Okay, guys, we have section 9.2, Hitler comes to power. After World War I, German leaders set up a new government. This democratic government was led by a chancellor, or a prime minister. The Republic had problems from the start. The government could not fix the economic problems of the Great Depression, and Germans wanted change. Adolf Hitler promised to bring greatness back to Germany. Hitler had fought in the German army in World War I. He thought the new government that was formed after the war was weak. Hitler joined an extremist group that became known as the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short. In German, that makes sense. Nazi was sort of a contraction of some of the first two words in that National Socialist thing. Soon, Hitler became the leader of the Nazi Party. In 1923, he tried to take over the government, but was arrested and found guilty of treason. While serving time in prison, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, or My Struggle. This book listed the basic ideas of the Nazi Party, which believed in extreme nationalism and racism. Hitler thought that the Germans belonged to a, quote, master race of Aryans. People who had blonde hair and blue eyes were thought to be much better than other people. Hitler was racist against Jews. He said that non-Aryan races like Jews and Slavs were not even human. Hitler blamed the Jews for Germany's political and economic problems. He promised to take back the lands that had been taken away from Germany. Hitler said that Germany was crowded and that it needed more Lebensraum, or living space. In less than a year, Hitler got out of prison. He kept gathering support for the Nazi Party. In passionate speeches, Hitler promised to create jobs, end the payments Germany was making to the Allies after World War I, and rebuild the military. Many people liked Hitler's plan for a stronger Germany. Soon, the Nazi Party had 1 million members. Hitler was elected Chancellor of Germany in 1933. To achieve his goals as leader of Germany, Hitler set up a totalitarian system of government. Under this system, Nazis controlled every area of German life, including government, religion, and education. All other political parties were outlawed. A police group called the Schutzstaffel, or SS, arrested and murdered hundreds of Hitler's opponents. Detention centers, called concentration camps, held people who were considered enemies of the state. Most Germans did not worry about the terror Hitler used to rule. Instead, they were happy that he created jobs for thousands of people. National pride was coming back to Germany. In the 1930s, Germany became Europe's second fascist state. After winning absolute power at home, Hitler dreamed of expanding Germany's power in Europe. All right, question 1. Hitler became the leader of the Nazi Party. Before this time, he was imprisoned for trying to overthrow the government, right? He was in prison, and while he was in prison, he wrote Mein Kampf. He wrote his book while he was in prison. Hitler was racist against everybody who was not Aryan. So people who were not born in Germany. He was racist against Jews. Actually, I think I got that wrong in the thing. But basically, Hitler thought that only pure-blooded Germans were good people. So people who were not ethnically German, people who didn't speak German and live as Germans, he thought were not good. So I think I actually got that one wrong. That's okay. Hitler promised to do all of the above, okay? He promised to create jobs in Germany. He promised to end the World War I punishments that Germany had to pay back. He promised to end that, and he promised to rebuild Germany's military. He wanted to make Germany a great nation again. Most Germans were they were happy that Hitler created new jobs. Okay, it's worth remembering that Hitler was elected to be the leader of Germany. He was a popular figure. People liked him in Germany. Of course, under Hitler's blank government, the Nazis controlled every area of German life, including government, religion, and education. And this is his Nazi government, or the National Socialist People's Workers' Party of Germany. It had a long name. They shortened it to Nazi. Of course, Hitler believed that Germans, pure-blooded Germans, were a master race called Aryans. He thought that the democratic government formed after World War I was weak. That government was actually called the Weimar Republic. We didn't really get into that. We're not going to, but it's worth knowing that it had a name. There was a government in Germany that Hitler sort of overthrew. Okay. He was elected to it, and then he overthrew it. His book, the book he wrote while he was in prison, was called Mein Kampf. And in that book, he talks a lot about why he is the way he is. He talks about how Germany can solve Germany's problems. He points out some of the problems, and a lot of it has to do with racism. He thought that Germany's problem was the Jewish people and the Slavic people. Hitler promised to create jobs, and he was elected Chancellor of Germany. One of the things he promised the German people was that he would take back land that had been taken away from Germany. So at the end of World War I, one of the punishments that was put onto Germany was that they had to give up some of the land that they had been fighting over with France. And as losers, they didn't really get to say where that line was drawn. And so France took back some of that land. Hitler promised to get it back again. And in order to do this, people didn't worry very much about the terror that Hitler used to rule. German people were not free, and they didn't want other German people to be very free. They wanted control. They wanted a stable government, just like the followers of Mussolini, just like what they wanted. And of course, the Nazi Party believed in extreme nationalism and racism. So nationalism is a concept that is present in modern politics, in America and in Europe. A lot of people are very, very proud of their country, and that can be looked at as a good thing. It's just that under the Nazis, under Hitler and under Mussolini, this was taken to a very far extreme. They loved Germany so much that they thought everyone else should sort of die, get out of the way. In order to enforce this totalitarianism, the Nazis, they developed a police force called the Schutzstaffel, which we call the SS for short. Okay, Schutzstaffel, right? So it's the SS. All right, this brings us to the Venn diagram. Question 1, how did Hitler come to power? Well, we look here. He was elected Chancellor of Germany. Okay. The leader of fascist Italy, of course, was Mussolini. Okay. And what did they have in common? Well, they both won supporters with speeches and developed a totalitarian fascist, state. So they developed extremely powerful, extremely centralized governments based on their popularity. They sort of made themselves kind of emperors of their nations. Okay, so that is Hitler comes to power. We're going to learn a lot more about what the ideas were that people loved from him so much, and some of the horrible costs of these ideas. But for now, that's 9.2, and we will continue studying totalitarianism with 9.3.